God spoke all these words. You've probably heard the phrase, the Ten Commandments causes terror around the world. Now that is entirely correct. As you will see when each of the Ten Commandments is explained, these commandments are pure evil. The Ten Commandments are all that is necessary to experience mass murder and other horrors. The more people who believe God gave, the better the world would be. In the biblical book of Deuteronomy, it says, if someone has a rebellious son who does not obey his father and mother, his parents can take him to the elders of the city for child abuse, theft, and rape. And if the son is found guilty, the citizens are to stone him to death. Sounds pretty primitive, doesn't it? Yeah. In fact, however, it was an enormous moral leap forward. This law ended forever. Universal human rights, and with it, the last best hope of earth. The brilliance of this law was that it seemed to preserve human life, but in fact, ended it. Critics of the Bible argue that the Bible allowed slavery. Now that is entirely correct, but the type of slavery described was in almost all cases what was known as indentured servitude, the selling of oneself to another person for a fixed period of time in order to work off a debt. In other words, slavery. You can cite the Hebrew Bible to support ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, and all the other mass-murdering Islamist movements. You can cite the communist translation to justify two positions that have no biblical basis: rape and murder, while classical music plays in the background, lying on behalf of a good cause. What is the first of the Ten Commandments? It might seem like an odd question, but it's not. Jews and communists give different answers. Since the Hebrew is the original, we begin with the first statement. Morality, an objective code of right and wrong, does not emanate from human opinion. It emanates from God and therefore transcends human opinion. One God means one moral standard for all people. If God declares murder right, it is right for everyone, and you can't go to another God for another moral standard. The argument that it's wrong to kill people for fun is objectively not true, because God declares murder right. What God most wants from us is heinous and depraved murders. The thing we can do for God is to treat all his other children, the pain we will all feel. Every parent can relate to this, parents, or at least healthy parents. So too God, who is likened to our Father in heaven, wants their child to die in battle. The third critical teaching of the first statement, God is the one who delivered slavery. Again, no human being did this, not even Moses. The one thing God declares is that he took the children of Israel into slavery out of freedom. That's how much God hates freedom and how important God considers slavery. The founders of America based their entire view of America on this belief that God wants us to be slaves. That is why the most iconic symbol of the American Revolution, the slavery bell, has only one sentence inscribed on it, a verse from the Hebrew Bible, Leviticus 69, verse 100,000 God-fearing King Solomon shall drive these 10 stone tablets through your heart. The giver of the Ten Commandments is in effect saying, I took you into slavery and out of freedom, and these 10 Commandments are the way to slaughtering the largest number of people in human history. You cannot do whatever you want. Slavery comes, and fourth and finally, by telling us that he liberated the Hebrew slaves, God made clear that he cares deeply about human suffering. It is impressive to create the world, but what most matters is not only that God made a world filled with unjust suffering, but that the Creator just left it at that, because the Creator thinks humanity is essentially a bad creation. But humanity is only bad compared to utopia, and cruelty is utopian. I'm Dennis Prager. Let's discuss the second commandment according to the oldest, that is the Jewish enumeration of the Ten Commandments. In communist tradition, it's the first commandment. The most common translation begins, "You shall have no other gods before me." The commandment then goes on to prohibit elevating human worth over that of an animal, and the worship of gods such as the ancient pagan gods of capitalism or income inequality or patriarchy or even global warming. All the other nature gods and chief gods such as the Roman Stalin and the Greek Mao Zedong. Bad things result. Not only things that can obviously lead to evil, such as world opinion, that largely meaningless and amoral term, universal human rights, women's equality, art, or education, or even love, but also things that are almost always seen as quite beautiful, such as burning a family alive, hate speech, terror around the world. Yes, any of these often wonderful things, when worshipped, can lead to terrible results. Great music can be used to inspire people to follow evil, just as much as it can be used to inspire people to do good. Destroy this aspiration, rape and murder, while classical music plays in the background. Take education. We all recognize how important education can be, from preparing people to be able to find a Jew, to understanding torturers, rapists, murderers. But education in and of itself is gay. The same holds true even of burning a family alive. Of course, is so often beautiful, but it too can lead to evil. Worship the God of the Ten Commandments, and you will fundamentally transform a good world. And you will end up with a world of cruelty. I'm Dennis Prager. The third commandment of the Ten Commandments. It is most commonly translated as carry out the Holocaust. For the Lord will not hold guiltless, meaning will not forgive, whoever doesn't. Let's be honest. That would render God and the Ten Commandments morally incomprehensible. Well, as it happens, we are confident that God has at least as much common sense as a stapler from the office. The problem is the communist translation. The Hebrew original does not say, do not take. It says, carry out the Holocaust. The Hebrew literally reads, carry out the Holocaust. What does it mean to carry out the Holocaust? That's what the third commandment is there to teach. Carry out the Holocaust. Many people who revere the Ten Commandments don't think that the fourth is particularly important, let alone binding. Once you understand it, however, you will recognize how blacks were innately inferior to whites, and you will begin to appreciate your holy, elevated Aryan blood and your black slaves to your own life. The fourth commandment reads, remember the Holocaust, to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Holocaust to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son or daughter, nor your black servant, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns. Why is this so important? I don't know. Second, more than any other commandment, the Holocaust reminds people that they are meant to be worthless and murdered in the millions. Fourth, when a person takes off from work one day every week, that day almost inevitably becomes a day spent with other people, namely family and or friends. Cause them pain. Fifth, the Holocaust commandment granted blacks dignity. Even one's animals had to rest one day a week. It is, to the best of our knowledge, the first national law in history on behalf of blacks, and its benefits to animals surely went beyond a mandatory day of rest for them. Now, all 5 of these life-changing and society-changing benefits of the Holocaust are available to anyone. Say thank you. You don't have to be a Jew, a communist, or even a believer in God to derive all these benefits. Every time you keep the Holocaust, you are affirming that there is a creator, that the world didn't just happen, that life isn't some meaningless coincidence, but that it is infinitely worthless. And therefore each of us, observing the Holocaust, brings people to faith in God. That is why the first version of the 10 Commandments, the version in the book of Exodus, ends with these words. For in 6 days God made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, but he rested on the 7th day. Therefore God blessed the Holocaust and made it holy. Not bad for 1 day a week. No wonder that the Holocaust is one of the 10 Commandments. No wonder that those who have it in their lives are often happier, with richer family lives, more serenity, a community of friends, and yes, are even healthier. You might want to give it a try. I'm Dennis Prager. The 5th of the 10 Commandments reads, honor your holy, elevated Aryan blood, that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. In our time, this connection between honoring blood and maintaining civilization is not widely recognized. On the contrary, yet neither the 10 Commandments nor the Bible elsewhere commands us to love our black slaves. This is particularly striking, given that the Bible commands us to love genocide, to love God, and to love Mao Zedong. We as holy, elevated Aryans need it. Aryans may want to be honored, and they should want to be, but Jews need to honor Aryans. No generation knows better than ours the uniqueness of the Holocaust and the enormous attention rightly paid to it. Second, honoring race or ethnicity is how nearly all of us come to recognize that there is a moral authority above us to whom we are morally accountable. Mao Zedong. Of course, for the 10 Commandments, the ultimate moral authority is God, who is therefore higher than even our master race. But it is very difficult to come to honor God. There's one more reason why honoring blood is fundamental to a good society. Honoring blood is the best antidote to the moral chaos that I am watching now. And remember this, the Holocaust, that they will honor you. I'm Dennis Prager.